Welcome to the BBC.
Hello, listeners, and welcome to another episode of the Between Both Cheeks podcast. It's Becca and Luba today with a very special guest, Amanda Hofman, who is the CEO and the queen of all things merch. Her company is called Go-To Market, and she caught our attention, or we caught her attention, and then she caught ours by posting on her LinkedIn about our merch and our shirts that we wear at the trade shows. So Amanda wanted to talk to Luba and hear all about how it came to be, and we're so excited for you guys to learn about why merch is still important for your business and is a great way to be a walking business card. Welcome, Amanda.
Thank you so much for having me. I admire you guys so much. So I'm thrilled to be talking to you today about these beautiful items that you have here.
So amazing. Okay, you caught my eye when we were mentioned and tagged in a LinkedIn post. So do you want to kind of tell us about your experience on where you saw us and maybe what you thought?
Yes, of course. So I live and breathe branded merchandise. My company, Go to Market, we create custom branded merchandise shops for businesses. And so I'm always on the lookout for branded merchandise that does more than is just the logo, right? Like so many companies are just printing their logo on things. It's so boring. They're not communicating anything about their brand values. And it's this wild missed opportunity that so many companies make this mistake, that they're not capitalizing on the power of branded merchandise, especially in a trade show setting. So, I went there to scope out what was going on. I saw a lot of logos. I saw a lot of confusing messaging. I saw some stuff that was really, like clever or cute. But then I saw your booth and I was like, I've never seen something that like so embodies the values that I talk about every day, because I teach companies to highlight their values in their branded merchandise, like to make something that their people connect to really get on that if you know feeling. And you guys just nailed it. And especially like you're using branded merchandise as a tool it should be. And you're in an industry that people are like kind of afraid to talk about. They're afraid to talk about this stuff. And you just make it, ask me about my butthole. It's amazing. It's brilliant. It's like the people in your booth were head to toe in this approachable, funny stuff that like makes it possible for people to be like, wait, what is this? And should I do it? And why should I do it? And it's like this, an invitation for people to engage with you. And that's really what branded merch does when it's at its best.
I love that you had such a positive experience, because people try to cancel us all the time at the shows. Not so much the people that are walking the shows, but like the people behind the shows, or like other vendors. Like that show was a rough show for us. Dallas was a rough show. Like all of them are like typically rough because people are highly offended by our branding and our marketing. So thank you for the amazing positive feedback.
Yeah. Wait, can I just tell you why that's especially wild?
Yeah.
I was offended because I was walking through. I wasn't really offended, but I was shocked because I was walking through and there are photos that are blown up so many times life size. And there was this one photo of a body part and I couldn't even tell what it was. I was just standing there. I was looking at it. I'm like, is that a shoulder? Is that a knee? And I looked at it and I realized I was looking up a crotch. I was looking at like this enormous photo of like a woman's legs spread, and they were trying to show how they can bleach the bikini line, I guess. And I'm like, that's a lot. That's a lot. Like, I didn't know what I was looking at. And now I've just been staring at this like larger than life photo of a woman's crotch. Whereas what you guys are doing is like playful and fun. And by the way, one of the least yes, it's out there, but there's also like teeth bling stations. Like, is it really all that different? I don't know. It's just, I don't understand why somebody would be like all up in your business about it being I don't know, inappropriate. It's a
I've
beauty
always
show.
said,
Come on.
I've always said if people are talking, then we're doing something right. When people stop talking, then we have an issue. So good, bad, ugly, I will take it all and I will spin it into something positive, right? If they're what is it? If their name, if our name is in their mouth, we're doing something right. So
All
tell us
right.
about your business and why you decided to be a merch mentor.
Yeah, well, I've always loved branded merchandise. I'm always the girl in the gift shop. I always am buying. I just really enjoy having branded items from things that I love. Go to Market is my second company. I used to have an events company for women in New York City. And at the time, printing branded merch was like a huge headache. The rules around printing in bulk are really stressful and annoying. And I live in Manhattan. So it's not like I have a garage or an extra closet or an extra anything where I could store stuff. So I just didn't end up printing branded merchandise very much, even though I would have loved to. It would have been so good for my business. And, many years later, when I started this company, when I learned about print on demand technology, I was like, here's a way for business owners to have branded merch that is beautiful, cool, flexible, and they can do it without inventory and they could do it without minimum order sizes. Why is every company not doing this? And they're not doing it because they don't know how. And it still feels overwhelming. So we created this company to have done for you print on demand branded merchandise. We create these beautiful stores. We focus on beautiful design, on design that gets people talking and that can help you stand out at a trade show, right? And it's not just your logo. So, like I said, what you guys are doing with your merch is everything we try to teach our clients to do and do for our clients. So I was just like, I was so excited when I saw it. I was like, and I shared it. It's one of my most popular LinkedIn posts.
Oh, that's
People
awesome.
loved it.
So Amanda, can
Yeah.
you tell our listeners what is print on demand merchandise?
Yes. So print on demand merch is merch that prints as it's ordered. Your designs exist digitally. So you don't need to make commitments ahead of time over how many of each color, how many of each size you want, and you don't need to commit to any one design. Let's say you make a design and it's kind of out there and then it's a hit. Great. You can accommodate any amount of orders that you get. Let's say you make a design and it's a flop. Great. You've spent no money on it, right? So when you change your branding, when you change your logo, when you change your direction, you don't now have a closet full of merchandise that needs to be thrown in the garbage. Print on demand, it's sustainable, it's size inclusive, it allows people choice, it grows with you, and there's no reason not to do it, really.
And as a small business, if someone is looking to get started, what would be your 3 pieces of advice to get started with something like this?
So first and foremost, I encourage people to think beyond their logo. So the first is most people are just like, I love my logo. I love my company. Everyone loves my logo and my company. So let's just print that. It's like, no, we're not doing that. Some companies can get away with it, Peloton, Nike, Tiffany. We can all think of a bunch of them, but those are really the exceptions. People want to hear about your business, and they want it to be interesting, right? So number 1, go beyond the logo. Number 2, do trendy stuff, right? People like crop tops, people like trucker hats, people think beyond your unisex fit t-shirt and your tote bag. It's just because it's the thing that most people would want doesn't mean that everyone actually wants it. So I would not be afraid to go niche, right? I mean, that's something you guys do really well. The stuff you're going to make is going to make the stuff that you guys makes a few people extremely happy, and most people, aren't going to touch it, but who cares? You're targeting that small group of people. So I would encourage every business to think about your niche. And third is to not get overwhelmed by the process. So obviously any of your listeners can hire us to just do it for them. Or you can find print on demand sites and, just take some time to learn the technology and set it up yourself.
When I first started doing trade shows with the t-shirts 15 years ago, I remember I had hired someone that came from a different company, and we had our shirts there for sale, and people were literally fighting over the last size. Like it was like a full on blown out like Black Friday fight. And I remember she looked at me and she was like, the company that I used to work for we could not give our merch away. What is wrong here? What is happening? So I don't really think about things. I just do. But do you think that statement is what you were talking about, the story versus a logo?
In terms of creating something that people are fighting over, as opposed to stuff that you can't just give away.
Can't give away.
I mean, I really like to focus on the if you know piece. Like when we buy something from a company, when we buy a service from a company, there's something about that product and service that draws us in, that feels targeted to us. As consumers now, we have infinite choices, it feels like, for all the places that we buy from. And so if we're buying from somewhere, it's like for a reason, right? Like their marketing speaks to us, or something about their values. Maybe they're eco-conscious. Maybe they're like women owned. Maybe they are like really artsy. Maybe they focus on the process. I mean, whatever it is, whatever drew you in, that is what should be highlighted in the branded merchandise. And that's something that people are going to actually wear. It's the thing that they're going to like make them pick that t-shirt out of the drawer, as opposed to just shoving it behind a thing like, maybe if I paint my house, I'll wear this shirt, right? Like you want something that people are going to feel connected to. It's about the connection and the like, that staying power of like, why did people choose you in the first place?
I love your example of, if I paint my house, I'll pull this out and wear it, because I have shirts like that. Like this is like my gardening attire. This is my going to the dump and dropping stuff off. This is my paint. Like that is so crystal clear. That's such a great example.
And I think that one thing that companies don't think about when you're talking about companies that can't give away their merchandise is like, when we as companies give, I'm going to put air quotes around gifts of branded merchandise to partners, team members, things like that, and it's something that they don't actually want, you're actually giving them a burden. You're giving them garbage. You're giving them something that they need to find a place for. Like, okay, I'm going to put this in this stuff that, like, I have a pile of things that if I'm racing in the winter, like, and I need to throw away a layer, that's what it is. It doesn't fit me well, or it's ugly. It's something that like I wouldn't mind losing after a day. It's like in that pile, and it's just annoying. It's annoying for people, and like people feel guilty about throwing things away. So like even for me, when somebody gives me a tote bag, even though I have infinite tote bags, I have tote bags stuffed with tote bags. I don't want any more tote bags, but yet I can't seem to throw it away because it feels wasteful. So you've given me guilt. So then I'm like finding a way to put it. As companies, we don't want to do that, right? Like we want to make everyone in our like orbit feel good when they think about our brand, not feel like guilty and like needing to repurpose something.
And I think too, like carbon footprint and the planet too, right? Like when you're throwing stuff away like that, like I mean, Becca can speak to that a little bit more than I can, because she's probably the greenest person within the company, and that part is very, very important to her. But you know, I could only assume that like when you have to throw something out that is like brand new like that, like it's a bit of an issue with the environment.
Yeah, it feels awful. It feels really bad. We are, as a people now, like we are always thinking about waste and throwing things, like we don't want to throw things away. So, but then we end up hoarding them, and then our houses become too cluttered, and then we're like miserable because we have too much stuff. So it's like, let's, as companies, not be a part of that cycle, right? Like, if you have a print on demand store, then you can just give people choice and say, what would you like? And they might say, no, thank you, I don't want anything. And that is a gift in itself. And by the way, you haven't spent any money on that. So it's a win-win-win. It's like a win for you, it's a win for the person, and it's a win for the environment as well.
Yeah, I love that you are all about print on demand, because that's how we do our merch as well. And my favorite thing is that it can be size inclusive, because at the trade shows, we do have some merch that we ordered from like a printing company, just because people wanted it there instantly on the impulse. But we run into the problem of like, okay, we only have these sizes and these designs. And like, if you're beyond that size on either spectrum, it's like, okay, well then, like, I don't have it here for you. But it's so nice to send them to the website and be like, it goes from XX small to 6X. And any color you want, you can get V-neck, crew neck, crop, zipper. Like, the choice is so nice to be able to have, like, it's just, we're living in a world now where we just do change and be more inclusive and diverse with the things we're offering our customers. Or if they're not interested, then that's fine too. It's self-serve. We don't have to carry inventory, have to count the inventory. We don't need to like have storage to store the inventory. And you're in New York, I live in a very small apartment as well. So I just don't have the space to keep merch that I don't want. And if you go to the thrift stores now too, you see so much company branded merchandise that's like a fundraiser they did, it's got a date on it, and that's where it's ended up. And because it's so personal, like most
No
people
one's
are not going
buying
to be
it.
buying that from the thrift store. So it's just sitting there and contributing to waste. So I love that you're all about print on demand. Now, if someone were to hire you, do you do the design work?
Yeah, so we
That's
specialize in the
amazing.
design. That's really the bulk of what we do. We do a lot of research, right? Because we want to get to that if you know piece. And that's not going to come from like a quick conversation, right? Like we spend time with our clients to think about what is that special piece, what goes on the t-shirt, what is going to highlight your values, and how can we do it with like a quick image with a 1 to 2 word phrase, right? And it's like, that's the piece. Sometimes when I'm like, you got to talk about your values, then people start putting like so many words on a shirt. It's like, that's not good either, right? Like, we need to be really strategic about the words that we're using. And if anyone needs to think about what your shirt means, you've lost, right? Like, it
Yes.
needs to be instantly understandable. And so we specialize in that. We take a lot of time. We do all of the design work and we set up these shops for businesses so that they have print on demand merch in the long run.
I love it. That makes it so easy.
Yes, that's why I was at that trade show. We did the store for lip gloss and aftershave, and we saw some of our items that we had designed in the just like on people walking around the trade show, and it was like seeing my babies out in the world. It was so exciting. I loved it. And it just speaks to, everyone orders what they want in the size, shape, color, style that they want it. And, to your point about size inclusivity, we have a lot of wellness clients and nutritionist clients. And for them, especially, they're talking about, beautiful at any size. We're not just going to show so 2 things to that. One, in their stores, everything goes up to a 5X, and we can do size inclusive models. So like the way that we're showing the items even is like, we're not just showing skinny white girls, like we're showing people of all sizes, races, genders. And that way, people see people who look like them in the store. So we have full control over who is modeling the items in these stores.
I love that. One of the things
and it's so easy. This is not like, we're not like going out and doing photo shoots. We just, we have figured out how to do this with technology.
One of the things that we like to do is when people post themselves in our shirts is we like to use those images on our website. So then we replace those models and those kind of stock images, if you will, with like real customers that buy our stuff, which I think is really amazing.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are doing everything right. No notes. It's so good. I love seeing it on your site.
God, this is like such a different conversation that we have about our merch. It's so crazy. So it's very fulfilling, and to hear it from an expert and not just stale pale white male that we're too much is very nice.
I mean, those people can just go somewhere else. I mean, there's just, I could go on and on about how wild it is that people would give you an issue as in a place where it's like, if you're going to do any beauty treatments, like you got to include all of it, right? Like, how is what you're doing really any different from like red light therapy or like any hair removal? Like, it's kind of all the same. thing.
Yeah.
We're just going to get really touchy about you guys. Please send those white men to me. I want to have a
Perfect.
conversation with them.
Perfect. Well, after the show, I'll send you their
Yeah.
emails. Amanda, when
I
do you
can't
think like print on demand really took off? Because like this hasn't. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we just haven't been using it as long. But like, when did it really become a thing versus carrying inventory? Because I've listened to a lot of podcasts of brands that, they bought the machines and they were doing it in their garages and stuff like that. So when was that switch and why was that switch?
So I don't have an exact answer for you. We started this business 4 years ago and I was new to it then. And by that time, all the technology was in place. And what I saw then, and I see it now actually to the same degree, as people just have no idea how to use it, even though it can be fully integrated with people's websites as they are now. Like, it's not rocket science to do. It just, people don't even know that it's an option. I think that print on demand technology has been around for actually a really long time. And it's just this problem of like, people don't know how to use it. They don't know what it is. And also, to be fully transparent, there is a trial and error period, which I'm sure you guys found with your own store, where there's some know-how to know which designs are going to look good with print on demand technology, because for your listeners, it's a different printing technology than when you order in bulk. When you order in bulk, you're usually getting screen print. Print on demand is called direct to garment, which works sort of like any, printer, like a paper printer. Like, things are fed into a machine and then they come out one by one. So there is some nuance. Like, if you just go on there and like upload your logo and just print it, like 50-50 chance it's going to look like garbage, right? Like is a small learning curve to it. So I think that what happens is, first of all, people don't know about it, even though it's been around for a long time. Second of all, they don't know how to integrate it. And then third, they might try it, get a bad result, and then quit. And then just be like, screw this, I'm just going to order, 30 t-shirts and hope for the best. So I'm proselytizing on LinkedIn about how this is a more environmentally sustainable, better way to print, better way, an accessible way for businesses to have branded merchandise. And then we're out here just making it easier for people who don't want to go through the trial and error and like the technical know-how of knowing how to do it.
And for our listeners that are like a smaller business, like a solopreneur renting a room or something, do you have a threshold of, this is too small of a business, I cannot help you, or can you help everyone?
So I think that we're going to say that we can help everyone. We love working with solopreneurs. I used to be a solopreneur myself. And I think that what's really cool about branded merchandise is that it legitimizes your business. It definitely makes you look bigger and more established that you are, but better than that, on social media, it helps people understand instantly who you are and what you're about. Right? So like, if you're showing, let's say if you're a coach of some kind, if you're in any kind of saturated field where there are a lot of people doing what you're doing, like you're a bookkeeper, you're a consultant, you're a coach, you're like an operations person, like there's so many people doing that. How are you different? And like, you can talk about it all the time, but if you have this like clear shirt, clear hat, clear mug with your values and your messaging, you show up in them all the time, it's another cue to people of like what you're about and why they should work with you. There you go. I love it. I mean, again, no notes. You're crushing it.
So I just showed the back of my phone. It says I invented anal bleach. And then when I'm at the airport, I always wear like branded stuff, like to ask me about my butthole. And I will tell you, like, because I cross customs all the time, I have sold 2 anal bleach kits to border guards.
Oh my God.
Like the meanest people that you're supposed to be so scared of. It's pretty wild.
I just want to hear all your stories.
We have a lot. It's pretty insane. I
mean, what you guys are doing is
great. One of the greatest stories is, those of you that are longtime listeners with us, you guys know that we went through a really nasty lawsuit in the pandemic while I was going through cancer treatment at the same time. And we had to retain attorneys in the state of Florida. Now, I had been to Florida like 15 years prior. I had never been there before. I had no dealings with it down there. But that was a state we were being sued in. So we had to find, through COVID, attorneys in Florida. I never told them that it was an anal bleaching, if you will, company. I just said it was a skincare company. I'm being sued. I need representation. And these like super high power attorneys were like, okay. And they never said anything until we were like on a deposition. And it wasn't till like a year and a half after the fact, when we actually met in person, when the case was dismissed, that I finally looked at him, and I was like, at one of them, and I said, so Adam, like, when did you actually know it was anal bleach? And he goes, I'll never forget it. I was going through all the documents that they had submitted. They had photocopied every single page of your website. And there was a blog post called Penis Lightning. So they started to refer to themselves as the anal bleach lawyers. And one of the lawyers was the mayor of South Beach. He was one of the lawyers.
Wow.
So they were so about it. And they said the amount of fun that they had talking about like what case they were working on, because at the same time, the judge in our case was the same judge as the Trump Mar-a-Lago case at the same time. So once we got to know them, we shipped them like thousands of dollars of swag. I mean, these lawyers and the mayor of South Beach was walking around in anal bleach slides, anal bleach t-shirts. Their receptionists were wearing it. Their wives were wearing it. When I came to like visit their office, they're like, oh my God, you're the anal bleach. Like they were advertising for us. I think that's one of the craziest stories. Like if you can get your attorneys to wear your swag and want it and like give it out to people. And he was like, oh, do you have a smaller size? My daughter really likes this one. It was insane.
My God, that's so funny. But that's the power of branded merch. When you create things that bring people joy, they will wear it, they will spread your message, they will be an ambassador for you and do all the marketing work that you are like hustling to do on your own. So it's like really a powerful thing. And also like of all places, South Beach is like, that's where they need it. Right.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
like a good spot.
From your lips to God's ears.
My God. That was so good.
So Amanda, if somebody wants to get started with you, if they're fired up after listening to all your wise wisdom.
So the right time to start branded merch is right now. They should just pause the podcast and go to market.studio, or just go to Market Studio on Instagram, or you can email me, amanda@go-to-market.studio. And reach out. We'll have a conversation about your brand and how this can work for you. To answer your question a little bit more seriously, like there is, like, as long as you have a brand, like your branding is set, if you're like still in the process of making your logos, you got to wait. Like you need to know what your brand is and what it's going to look like. Outside of that, once you have your brand set up, I would say do your merch right away. It's going to help you get the word out. It's going to help your business in ways you can't even expect.
This was really great.
I agree.
This was such fun. I was really looking forward to meeting you.
Thank you so much for writing such a beautiful article about us on your LinkedIn. And Becca will put that in the show notes so more people can follow you and message you if they've got any questions that way. Thanks for just being a girl's girl and so cool. I hope that we can connect when we're in New York and grab a coffee and continue this relationship. Yeah, for sure.
I would love that. Thank you.